Good evening and welcome to RBC. There now follows a Roath Independence election broadcast. So pay attention.
People of Roath.
Your time has come.
Again.
The eyes of the world are upon us.
Never falter from your vision.
Of a new and glittering future.
From Newport Road to Roath Park Lake.
From Checkpoint Sainsbury
To the glistening Albany chip oil fields. It is time.
Time to reclaim what is ours.
Time to show the Splottites
We refuse to bow to anyone.
I don't really think they want us to bow to them. Anyway.
time to build the new Ratostarbius.
Time to use your vote.
To make actual history.
Time to be actual history.
It is time to say yes.
To vote yes.
It's time to say yes.
I don't really agree. I think we should vote no. Vote no.
Referendum. Referendum. Gerund of the Latin verb referro, meaning to bring back, as in to bring back to the people. A gift to us from the popular assembly of the Roman Republic. Ireland, Wales, Scotland, the European Union, the alternative vote, Scotland again. All have had their referendums, but now, perhaps the most magnificent, the most controversial, the most awe-inspiring referendum of all. Independence for Roath. The Roatherendum.
Good evening. I am Dr Glen Roy, and I am addressing you today as a concerned and distressed Roatherian. For far too long, England and Wales have rode roughshod over the needs of Roathians. It would be fair to say that they, and by this I mean Wales, England and Cardiff, have not had our best interests at heart. As a Roathian, I have walked Roath Street and personally witnessed suppression, oppression and depression in the Roath peoples and their general demeanour. This is why I am broadcasting to you tonight, my fellow Roathians, because now is the time to break away, throw down the chains that have bound us for too long, and stand up and whisper, I'm a Roatherian and I'm not going to take it anymore. I propose that once this action has taken place and you, the Roatherians, have made your views clear to the greater powers via the ballot box, that we introduce a new law that makes it illegal not to have a museum in every street in Roath. We think nothing of having supermarkets on every high street so that we can buy food and drink to nourish our bodies. I think it is time to have accessible museums so that we can nourish our minds. I will not fool you and claim that this law does not come without a cost. It does. It will be very expensive, but I leave you with this thought. The high wages and subsistence expenses that you, the Roathians, will be paying me is money you can't afford not to be taxed on. Do your best. Vote yes.
Walking these fascinating streets, one is struck by the engagement of the body politic. What is it about these curious people that engenders such vibrancy, such energy, such sheer human audacity? A carnival-like atmosphere permeates the air as the people are asked to decide yes or no to the question of independence.
Hello, I'm Dame Shirley Road. There have been roads in Roath since time immemorial, and my history is woven amidst the warp and weft of the fabric of Roath's history. I am 103% positive about independence for Roath, and I stand tall with my colleagues, Sir Alfred Street and Professor Glen Roy, in urging you, the noble citizens of Roath, in voting yes this October. However, I am standing for the independence in Roath, but with the British Monarch Party. So when you vote yes, I would ask you to put your chit in my slot. Why? I hear you ask. Well, I'll tell you why. The Roath cake. Yes, the Roath cake. It has been the foundation of Roath's fortunes. It has sustained our farmers, our factory workers, our armies, well, at least since 1975. It is a major export made by me in the kitchens of the Actual History Museum of Roath by appointment to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. A vote for any of the other yes candidates will threaten this royal approval. The Queen loves our glorious indigenous foods. She loves our half and half, our Welsh Roath bit, our cheese and minion pie. Just think of what impact losing this royal approval could have on local producers. Think of the terrible impact this will have on Roath's financial well-being. So I welcome independence in Roath with a British monarch. I say no to a republic, no to anarchy, no to a communist state or some made-up king. And I want you to say yes to the Roath cake and yes to independence in Roath.
Independence, freedom, liberty. How these simple words have reverberated through the march of time. As Jean-Paul Sartre said, man is condemned to be free. The discourse of political philosophy from Aristotle, Plato, Locke, Mill, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Montesquieu has brought us back to its spiritual home, Roath. Roath, the true birthplace of democracy. And here I stand, beneath the giant loins of the ancient archway entrance to the oldest and most illustrious parliament in the world, Roath. I adore this. To think that what once stood here was a magnificent and ornately carved wooden archway that might have stood as much as 1,000 feet high is beyond belief. And if we look to our left, across the River Stabius, at what is now the bowling green, we find ourselves actually looking at the ancient site of the Rothian debating chamber. Incredible.
Look, I think it would be nice if we all stayed together and tried to work things out. I mean, it's not as though Roath has any countryside, or any sea, or any airports, or any financial institutions. And I'd have the following questions to ask before we all decided to leave the Union of Britain and Wales and Cardiff and Splot all together. I mean, which day would bin day be, for example? And who would supply the books to Roath Library? And who would supply the goods in the shops? Look, to be completely honest, I've never had a problem with Splot. It seems okay to me. Or the rest of Cardiff. Or the rest of Britain. And that's why I'd say no to independence. But don't tell anyone.
I'm standing outside the Mansion House in Roath, currently the residence of the Lord Mayor of Cardiff, but also, historically, the seat of government of an independent Roath. As the citizens of Roath prepare to vote, their dreams of their regained independence balance under the Damoclean sword of no. Let us reflect upon the outcomes of struggles for national liberty, the Athenian democracy led to empire and the Peloponnesian Wars. The Roman Republic eventually gave us the infamous Nero and Caligula, the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte, the American Revolution, global capitalism, the Russian Revolution, Stalin. As George Orwell said, revolution is not a means, it is an end. One does not establish a dictatorship to safeguard the revolution. One makes a revolution to establish the dictatorship. Citizens of Roath, beware independence. It has hidden fangs.
People of Roath, this afternoon I beg you to consider our great nation. From that funny bit of woodland after the lake in the north to the railway in the south, we are a great nation. A nation of dreamers, such as Clyde Place, who founded the first chip shop here, on the site of what is now the Claude Pub, and there, shortly after, invented half and half. A nation of artists, such as Leonardo da Tinstreet, who came here from Adamsdown and went on to paint the bedrooms of the crowned heads of Europe. But look at us now! We must queue like rats behind Splottians at bus stops. We must watch as the last Rolo Easter egg in Tesco's is taken by someone of Lisbonian appearance. After the foundation of the Second Rothian Republic, there will be a period of prosperity. There will be Rolos for all, and not just people who may have come from Lisbon. Citizens, the time is upon us, and soon we will be free to rebuild the Republic in the way it was once envisaged. And with me, as your dear and supreme leader, and your glorious commander, supported by a centrally controlled anti-capitalist hierarchy, there will be equality for all. There will be no more Dame Shirley Road and her wasteful, decadent Roath cakes, which I call the opium of the people, and no more Dr Glen Roy and his frankly disturbing obsession with museum artefacts. Just a return to the glory days of Roath, to finish the job started by our great and glorious forefather, whose smiling face is an inspiration to genocidal and oppressive regimes everywhere. Comrades, citizens, workers and Splottish dogs, I am talking of the father of the People's Republic of Roath himself, his shining celestiality, Chairman Moy. Independence for Roath, turned flavoured ice cream for all. This will be the law. This will be the actual law. The Rothian Revolution has begun.
Right, okay. Look, what I'm trying to tell you is this, okay? Now, from the proto-democracies of the East to the splendour of Athens, the glory of Rome, the great revolutionary wars of France and America, liberty and freedom have been the clarion calls of people the world over in their struggles to free themselves from those who would oppress them and those whom they would oppress. As Victor Hugo said, when dictatorship is a fact, revolution becomes a right.
So if you don't mind me asking, Rev, which way will you be voting in October?